Hey guys, oh, let me take this off. What's up? Just trying to stay safe, you know, wearing my mask. Got my new rock and roll over mask today. Kind of epic, being that it's Paul Stanley's 69th birthday. Pretty cool. So in saying that, we're gonna do a show about Kiss today. Hugh Hefner here. I'm gonna lay out my top 5 picks for Kiss albums. Of course, these are the original albums, studio albums only, makeup era, all 4 original members only, for the most part. Of course, as we know, as Kiss put out albums in the 70s, they did drop members. Not so much on the covers as they did in the studio, but we'll get to that in a moment. As you see, there's a blurred out version of the list that I opened the show with. You'll see that after the opening credits. I'm going to show you that list right now. Hey guys, what'd you think about that? So there's the list. It's my list, my personal favorite list, and there's reasons why. Some are personal and some are probably, you know, general public ideas about these albums. However, I'm a big Kiss fan, so when I want to talk a little bit about how this whole thing got started. When I was little, I stayed a lot at my grandparents' house, both my mom's parents and my dad's parents. And I went to my mammy's, my mom's mother, my grandmother, and there was a drum set downstairs, and there were Kiss dolls and bell bottoms hanging up downstairs. My grandmother, I wouldn't say she's a pack rat, but she kept things that were meaningful to her and her kids. So down in the basement, you know, she had my uncle's drum set, and both of my uncles were into Kiss in the early 80s, as most kids were. You know, so it was just cool to me to see that stuff. She had a lot of Elvis stuff to look at too. She was a major Elvis fan, so I think that kind of leaked over into the Kissdom for me and made me the fan that I am. However, I took it on quite early. I think I was about 8, maybe 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, when I started getting into music, forming my own opinions about music, and kind of like getting into the bands that I still love today. Now, I'll be 100% truthful with you. When I was in, you know, high school, 15, 16, 17, whatever, I tried to shed that, you know, and be cool, as it were. You know, and that kind of opened the doors for other bands that I like Foo Fighters and newer stuff. Deftones is one of the last shows that I talked about. But yeah, Kiss was always one of my favorite bands, and still is to this day. Even though for a while it was a secret, it was no secret. Everybody who knew me knew I was that weird kid that liked Kiss in middle school and my early years of high school, and I gravitated back to them always, and still do. And it used to be a thing where there was like some psychology behind it. Like, I always thought, well, if I ever find myself listening to Kiss, you know, I'm probably going through a rough patch, and I just want to reminisce about being a kid again. But there's nothing wrong with doing that on the daily. I guess in a sense, it keeps you grounded as to who you are, and it gets you away from all the madness in the world, you know, the politics and the he said this and they said that kind of crap on social media. I prefer to be devoid of all that. I don't watch a lot of the news or the television stuff that everybody gets into. Usually if it's a television show, it's a show that it's been out for 10 years before I'll watch it. Much like these. These albums are approaching their 50-year mark. Kiss has been out since 73, 74 as a band, and putting albums out very successfully in my mind. Of course, they're not, you know, on the radar anymore because times have changed multiple times over. But I want to show you the first Kiss album that I ever bought, which is also my number 1. No, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do this backwards. We're going to go backwards here. After I go through the list, I'll show you again, why I picked these albums in the order that I did. So Destroyer, okay? Destroyer was maybe like the third or fourth album that I bought from them, and I love it. I love the album art. I thought it was a great album. There's a lot of hits on it. It was the first album that was produced by Bob Ezrin, which is a great producer. He produced people like Alice Cooper and gave him such fame in that shock rock genre. You know, they're all in the same kind of group because of the makeup and the glam and the glitz and the bombs and the scary stuff and the snakes and the blood and the fire that Gene breathes and all that crap on stage. So it's just kind of cool that he did that. Now, I'm going to, you know, of course, you're probably looking at the album art right now. I think I'm going to put that up. But, you know, there's songs like Detroit Rock City. It starts out with that crazy news footage, which is so cool. And I do believe that's Gene saying that in his English teacher voice, because as you know, Gene was an English teacher before he was ever the God of Thunder, which is on this album, which is another mainstay when they do live shows. But I mean, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's a rock opera. It's not like their first 3 studio albums that were dark and gritty, but it's still got some really great hits. Beth was on that album. I mean, this is kind of where they found their trademark stage show antics. And, you know, they got into their whole, like, their features, like, you know, like The Starman, The Star Child, you know, Do You Love Me? That's a song based on his aura, his fictional character, on stage character. Beth, you know, real life song, kind of talking about making music and the recording process and being on the road. And you know, they've been doing this for a few years at this point, a couple of years. So it's kind of like paying homage to a past life. But yeah, Flaming Youth, Shout Out Loud is always on the bill. You know, when you're out seeing them. The God of Thunder, Detroit Rock City is usually how they open shows. So this album is an epic album. It's an epic cover. It's an epic album. One of my favorites. Number 5, I would say, for me personally. Another one that gets a lot of flack, actually, that is a favorite album for me. You know, I'm wearing an Unmasked shirt. I'm a true Kiss fan. I love everything. I love even the Elder. So this album, Dynasty, Peter Criss does not play on it. It is one of the first albums that Peter Criss definitely does not play on, and it is very well known that he did not play on it. A couple of songs he wrote on it, I think he at least sang on Hard Times, which is a pure Peter Criss song. He has that gritty voice, you know, and he did Hard Luck Woman on Rock and Roll Over, and, you know, Beth is kind of one of those kind of ballad songs that he tugs at your heartstrings because he talks about the street, or he talks about real life situations, which, you know, inside Kiss it's kind of a weird thing, but it's cool. Ace covers the Rolling Stones. A lot of people don't know that he did with 2000 Man. It was on an early album by the Stones, and it's a great song, one of my favorites. They've kind of brought that back into the Kiss world when they did Unplugged in 95 or 96. They brought that on stage, and it became kind of one of those like cult classic followings again, to want to listen to that song, and it opened my eyes to it. Didn't even know where it came from. So instantly when I heard it, I was like, where did that song come from? What album was it on? I have to get it. And I remember where I was when I got this. My grandmother actually got this for me when I was, I think, a freshman in high school, probably. And I'll never forget that day. It was a good day. I got Kiss Dynasty. A lot of people give it flack because it has that disco tempo on I Was Made for Loving You, one of the biggest hits. But there's so much to it. Like I was talking about with Destroyer, the idea of, you know, like the Star Child having his infamous, like, or his infamous, I don't know, is he a bad guy? I mean, his like whole, like, do you love me even though I'm a rock star and I'm sleeping with all these women. Gene has that aura too. He's the God of Thunder. He's the demon. He's the fire-breathing dragon that is, you know, that is Gene Simmons. And, you know, there's songs on there like Charisma, and I think that's like kind of emblematic of his stuff, much like Dr. Love, you know. You have albums like Love Gun, aptly named after the male member. I mean, we're talking about songs about women here, and making love to lots of women and taking over the world, kind of in a way. X-Ray Eyes, Save Your Love, which was an Ace sang song. He closed out the album kind of in a way. Actually, I think Paul sang on that too. I think it was kind of both of them, but I love this album. So my next album goes a little further back, Hotter Than Hell, which is you know, the second album that they put out, which, you know, if you look at the cover there, I think it's kind of got like a Japan theme. It's got Japanese writing on it. It's really cool. It's very different than the first one. Of course, they're up in their game with what they're wearing, their costumes and their stage antics, and they've definitely defined their makeup at this point after putting out one album. There's some great songs on it. To me, it's just one of the coolest album covers as far as the early ones, and it was one that I really had to rush out and buy. As a kid, you know, I started collecting these things. I say rush out and buy like I bought it when it came out, but no. I grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, man. This stuff was way old when I picked it up. But just a lot of people cover some of these songs on, like She. No, I'm sorry, that's actually on Dress to Kill. But these two albums kind of go hand in hand. Parasite, Going Blind, great songs. Let Me Go Rock and Roll, that's usually on the bill. It was on both, I think, Alive's, and they used to close out their shows with Let Me Go Rock and Roll, if I'm correct on that. Watching You, Coming Home, and that was another one that was on the Unplugged sesh. Coming Home, that, you know, they kind of brought back the early years of that camaraderie of the four guys being in a band, playing and making and writing music together. So that's kind of why I love that album. It's just old school. It's darker. They were still that seedy, dark and seedy band playing bars and stuff and blowing people's heads off, you know. So the second one I picked was Rock and Roll Over, To Match My Mask. No, that's not why I picked it, because it really is like Gene and Paul said. When they went into the studio to create this album, they did it in a way that brought out the stage sound that they have, and the you know, that feeling you get when you see them on stage. And it's not campy, it's loud, it's in your face, and it's stadium rock. And it has a lot of hits on it, you know. I mean, honestly, it's just one of the best. I mean, you've got a lot of other stuff scattered in there, but you have Hard Luck Woman, again, Pete singing on that one. Great song. And I think they did that to kind of get that Rod Stewart audience, you know, because Rod the Mod Stewart and the Faces were doing stuff, and Rod, I think, that actually went solo at that time. It's just really a good song. Making Love to close out the album, such a great song. Love that song. Ladies Room kind of goes back to Dress to Kill. You know, as I said, they were trying to go back to their roots and do what they know. I always get that song being confused with being on Dress to Kill, because there's Ladies in Waiting and stuff like that. So it's kind of like these themes that they always have. They're kind of a chauvinistic band, I guess you could say, because, like I said, Love Gun and Ladies in Waiting and stuff like that, Calling Dr. Love. The themes are kind of out there. They're definitely getting away with a lot more than you could today as far as song titles and the lyrics. But really great album. As I said, Calling Dr. Love is on this. Take Me, I Want You, Baby Driver. It's another Pete song. It's a more upbeat song. He's playing and, you know, going at it. It's kind of like Hooligan, or, you know, from Love Gun, or Hard Times from Dynasty, or, you know, Black Diamond, 100,000. You know, where Pete sings and is the #1 featured in the song. And I love that about Kiss, is that they all are able to sing and be up front, and they all have their own, you know, the Catman, Star Child, Demon, Space Ace. You know, I just think that's so cool. But my favorite album of Kiss, #1 for me, and my heart will always be Dress to Kill. And I know it's kind of a weird album cover because they're not in their typical costumes. They're literally in, suits and like almost plain clothes alongside their Kiss makeup. It's really weird, and they're just standing out on the street as a spectacle. But they were wearing, I think he said that they were wearing Bob Ezrin's clothes or Bill Aucoin's clothes. Yeah, something like that. They really didn't have clothes like that, and they were kind of poor. The production value on this was kind of bad because this is their third album. They were kind of running out of money, running out of steam. They hadn't really hit it big yet until they'd done Alive. But still, I mean, the songs, the writing is amazing. Come On and Love Me. It's one of my favorite songs. It's weirdly written. A buddy of mine actually pointed out how the lyrics are just so weird, but they somehow mean so much, and they're so cool. And Skid Row on Beside Yourself, that B-Sides album that they did with covers and stuff, they covered that song, and it was such a good cover, and it made me realize how much, Kiss really influenced a lot of other bands that came out after them. But Room Service, Two Timer, Ladies in Waiting, Get Away, all these songs are great. Rock Bottom with that intro, that amazing acoustic guitar intro. And then of course, you've got their the song that everybody knows them for, hit, Rock and Roll All Night. Now, it's kind of like with Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. They're probably tired of playing it. I'm tired of hearing it. Not really. I mean, I love it. I'll still, I'll just country bands and be tapping my foot. I love music. It is what it is. It's just not my cup of tea, and I've heard it so many times. But there's so many other good songs on it. Love Her All I Can and She, like I was saying earlier. The Melvins, they did a cover of She, and I thought, dude, this is so cool. They're so far removed from that spectrum of music for them to be covering. It says a lot about Kiss. A lot of people love Kiss, and I'm definitely one of those people. But those are definitely my top 5. In saying that, those are my top 5 in makeup, top 5 original members, top 5 original era. However, I did throw Dynasty in there, and I know Pete didn't play on the album as far as drums go for the most part, but it's still one of my favorite albums because it kind of caps off that era. It was the last album of the 70s. So, I want to get into another thing too as far as Kiss. If we were talking about albums as far as being the best Kiss album, I also did not include alongside not studio albums like Alive, Alive 2, and Alive 3, which I love Alive 3. Non-makeup Alive, but I love it. I'm going to have to say this one really takes the boat here. That one is the best solo album, not only in my humble opinion, but also I believe in critics' opinions and the people who bought albums back in the day. Ace's solo album was definitely, bar none, the best in my opinion, but that's for a different show. Maybe I shouldn't have added that. We'll maybe get back to that and do another whole show on it. But then again, I'm here to talk about Kiss, no holds barred. I put down at the bottom, as you could see, some other albums that I wanted to talk about because it was kind of, I was on the fence about Love Gun. Love Gun, I do love it. It has some great songs. Christine 16's on there. I Stole Your Love. Got Love for Sale and Shock Me, one of my favorite Ace songs. It's a true story. He shocked himself in Winterland, Florida at a show, coming down the railing. Almost didn't play the show, but being the trooper that Ace is, he played the whole show. Love that song. Plaster Caster, Almost Human. Again, going along with Gene and fitting into that whole comic book alter persona. It's a cool song. It's just a good album too. So it almost made the cut. Didn't make the top 5. It's definitely number 6, I would say, as far as, and I don't think that's the order I put it in. I just kind of threw those on there. But Love Gun probably a number 6. It was kind of weird when they chose to do Then She Kissed Me, because it's actually, I think it's a Dave Clark 5 song. I can't remember who did the original, but it's actually, or no, it's actually a girl group. I can't remember who, but they switched it to Then She Kissed Me instead of Then He Kissed Me. I can't remember, but it's a really great album. Go check it out if you haven't. And of course, you can't really talk about Kiss and their albums without talking about this one, the first album. Now, I talked about it last week. I'm still looking for that look that Peter Criss lays down that is very similar to Mitch Mitchell. Can't remember what song is which. I don't know which Jimmy song, which Kiss song. But I love that album. A lot of great songs on there, like Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Cold Gin, Firehouse. I mean, every single song, minus maybe the Love Theme and Kissin' Time, are songs that they play live, songs that everybody knows as Kiss fans, at least. But also, I mean, I brought up Dynasty, which is one of my favorite albums, but after a while, you know, I started getting all these Kiss albums. I had the main ones at first, and then I started picking up all the rare ones, the random ones like The Elder and Unmasked. Well, that's another one that I almost threw in there, but I thought, well, some of these other ones kind of outweigh that, so it didn't make the cut. But I do love it. Unmasked is another album, unfortunately, Peter Criss did not play on. He was absent at that time. He was leaving the band. He had other things. He was worried about family issues and such. I guess rock stardom had gotten to him. But it's still, mind you, a good album, despite the era. They were still kind of doing disco tunes. Shandy was a disco tune. But Talk to Me, Naked City, just really weird songs that somehow come out good. But then Ace has these crazy couple songs on there. Torpedo Girl, which I love. It's not your typical, but it still is your typical because it's Ace. Ace always has his flavor in there, and it's amazing. And of course, Two Sides of the Coin. That was another song that came along on I think a hits collection that I was like, this is a Kiss song? Okay. Well, I really fell in love with it, and that kind of brought on the idea that I need to discover Ace's solo stuff and the solo album. So, you know, every time I listen to these albums, I find something new. It's really cool. But one more album that I want to talk about, and that is I call it the comeback album. Later found out it was not. Creatures of the Night. It actually, at the time, Creatures of the Night bombed because they had just put out this album, The Elder, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Elder was a concept album that just got way out of hand. It was not Kiss at all, not Kiss-like, and it flopped. It failed. So whenever they kind of brought back their roots and, you know, they had this new drummer, Peter was out of the band, Eric Carr was in the band, they were still wearing the makeup. It's, you know, getting a couple years into the 80s here, it just, I don't think people took it seriously. But now looking back, it's like definitely one of those cliche, like, oh, it's a cult classic album. And it's such a heavy rocking album. I mean, I Love It Loud. That video is so cool. Creatures of the Night, Saint and Sinner. I mean, a lot of different people worked on this album with them too. It's just really cool. Really cool cover art. It was another one that when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I gotta get that. It's so cool. It looks so cool. But you know, they have the other album cover that they did in '85. Not everybody has that. I always like to pop that one out there that I have that one too. I also have it on cassette. You know, the fun part is that Ace and Bruce, the two guitarists that were on the cover, never played on it. Kind of weird, but it is what it is. The Elder, that's another one. We'll probably do a show specifically for like albums like The Elder or Unmasked because they are so weird, different albums. But I have songs that I love on those albums as well. You know, A World Without Heroes, Dark Light, Mr. Blackwell, I love that song. You know, Only You is another one that I just love, but Dark Light was Ace's kind of real cool song, and even Eyes, as cheesy as some of these songs are, I love them. Major Kiss fan, just wanted to throw that out there about my top 5. If it's not your top 5, so what? You show me your top 5, list them below, give me some feedback. Tell me I suck, tell me I rock, give me some horns, you know, flip me off, give me the bird, whatever, I don't care. I want some feedback, but subscribe below if you like my show, or if you just happen to be watching. You never know, you might find something you like later on down the line. I might be talking about Sabbath again, I might be talking about Ozzy, Van Halen. I need to do a show about Van Halen. You know, we just lost Eddie Van Halen last year, so I need to do a show about that. Yeah, but that's my list. With a little extra added into it. I've gone on way past what I expected. But hope to hear from you soon. Drop some comments. Subscribe. Hey, come back next time. Maybe you'll want to listen. Maybe you'll want, you know, Maybe it'll be about an artist that you like. But this is one of my favorite bands, Kiss. So have a rockin' good night. Hugh Hefner signing off.